So, this is kind of a basic overview of our VITA Vionic workflow. And if you're familiar, or even if you're not familiar with our product, if you look on our website or any of our stuff, you'll see the Vionic name. And there's several other ones that go along with our digital stuff. And so I just wanted to kind of explain it to you guys so that everybody understands. And Vionic is kind of the umbrella name that we are using for all of our digital, denture, or all our digital offerings as far as the digital workflow. So you might see like the VITA Vionic Bond or the VITA Vionic Vigo. Okay, so that's kind of what that means. And then each individual piece is named for itself. So we're going to kind of talk about the VITA Vionic workflow, although a lot of this is going to be just a digital workflow kind of overview as well. So there's a lot of options. It's very versatile, and I'll try and talk about as much of it as I can. The first part of this, though, is, of course, the scanning or acquisition or capturing of the records that you get from your clinician or the patient, however you are doing this workflow. So I'm actually gonna, let's see what I've got here. I'm gonna jump up here and I'm gonna talk a little bit about that because that first piece, getting that information into the computer is really the most important part of this, is actually taking good records. And I usually say it, complete and accurate records. And that's something that, is a discussion between you and your clinician, or if you're a denturist, you can look at yourself and your own techniques. But making an impression for a digital denture really shouldn't be any different than making an impression for a traditional denture. So all of the same rules apply. I'm not going to go into deep depth of it now. If you want to know more, call me, email me, and I've got some slides and some information on that. Or if you want to take one of my courses, I usually go more in depth on that. But we'll talk a little bit about it. When we're evaluating impressions, these are really good looking impressions, and this is the kind of stuff that I'm looking for. Okay, these are complete, these look very accurate. That a lot of times when I am troubleshooting with people on, oh, it didn't fit right, it didn't look right, we'll go through a lot of pieces of it. But usually when we get back to the impression part, this is kind of the culprit. I see a lot of stuff like this. And I know this isn't immediate, but it's a really good example that if you look at that palette there, you've got all that distortion and inaccurate data there, okay? I see this all the time. And I'll tell you right now, that denture will never fit, okay? The patient will never be happy, the doctor will never be happy, and you're gonna beat your head against a wall, okay? Here's some other kind of crazy ones that are all over the place. All right, so that is one of the key pieces of this is, sorry, I'm going to jump back here to this slide, is making sure that you have complete and accurate records. However you guys decide to collect them, it doesn't matter. Whether you're scanning an impression, scanning a poured up model, or you're doing an intraoral scan, it's totally up to you. But just make sure that information is accurate, because the software is really, really good. And I'll show you that kind of in a minute here as we go through it. And it'll make it exactly to what you have. So if it's not exactly what's in the patient's mouth, then you're gonna really be fighting it, and it's a big headache. So, the next part of that, or the next piece of this, is kind of the tooth library. So before we move on, I'm gonna jump over to another slide here and show you kind of how to get the library. That we actually have two versions of this library now, and I'll kind of explain while we're doing the workflow what the differences are. But the basic version, which is paired with our carded Vigo teeth, you can download directly from your control panel in 3Shape. It's available for 3Shape and ExoCAD. So in 3Shape, you would go to the control panel, down to the tools and download center. You're going to change your topic here to download libraries, and then you're going to look for the VITA Vionic Vigo and hit import. Okay, and this also, so what'll happen is it'll import, it'll save and close, and then it will restart your dental manager. Okay, and then your library will be available to use. This also works on a server setup. So if you have more than one design station hooked up to your system, same thing, you would do the import, you would save it and close it. And if somebody is in the middle of designing, okay, they can go ahead and continue to design. Once they're done, then they would need to close and restart their dental manager, and then the library will be available for them. Okay, so that is in 3Shape. And I also have PDFs of all of this and some videos on our YouTube page if you need it. ExoCAD. So ExoCAD's a little different, but you can still get it pretty easy. You actually need to go to ExoCAD's website and request it. So they have their full denture library kind of menu, if you will, or page. And you scroll down to VITA, and there is the VITA Vionic full dentures. Then there's also the VITA Vionic Digital Vigo, which is our new version of the library. And then there's also one for the Allen-Gerbach system. Okay. And when you request it from ExoCAD, you have to give them your serial number. And there's a little question mark there if you don't know how to find it. And then they'll send you a link by the email. In that link comes a zip folder with the library and this handy dandy install guide here. And if you download that, this is the important part here, is where to put those libraries. So really in ExoCAD, it's pretty easy. It's just a drag and drop. You just got to find out where to drag and drop them. And depending on which version of ExoCAD you have, it might look a little different, okay? Because ExoCAD licenses their software to other manufacturers like Nobel, Allen-Gerbach, that kind of stuff. So here it will tell you to look for it under the Dental CAD app. Okay, and Dental CAD app is actually just a placeholder depending on which version you have. Okay, so like in my Allen-Gerbach system, it actually renames that to Ceramil software. Okay, so if you don't see the Dental CAD app, look for something like that. But that's what this instructions is. It tells you where to find that folder. And then once you do, you simply drag and drop all those files into that prosthetic 2 sets folder, and you are good to go. Okay. And again, I've got PDFs on all this if you guys need it. Let me jump back over here. And okay, so that is how to get the Vigo library. Now that is our free library. Our Vigo library, like I said, is paired with our pre-manufactured carded teeth, and they come blister packed like this, and they're individual. So they fit individually into the tooth pockets. And we'll go through design here in a minute, and I'll show you all of that. But this is probably the one you guys have seen me talk about before. That the difference between that and the new library is that in the new library, we've actually added we've updated the library even on the free version. So there's a couple more tooth molds and setups options. But the second library is actually a paid version of the library. It's a one-time fee. And what it does is it unlocks the ability to export the STL to manufacture the teeth on your own. Okay, and so this is an example of the other one where I've actually milled these teeth and put them together in a bridge. So I'm going to show you guys an example like that in a minute of how we do it with the new library. Okay, so I just wanted you guys to kind of see the difference there so you guys understand what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the two different libraries. So yeah, so the next step here is really the CAD design. So I'm gonna open up 3Shape here, and I'm gonna show most of my examples today in 3Shape because I don't have the correct version of ExoCAD on this computer, and I don't think we have enough time to go through all of that today. But I will be doing some follow-up workshops and webinars on that. So if you want to see it in more depth, please email me or visit our website and we can get you some more info. So this is the example I'm going to use, and I want to show you how to set it up. So this particular case is set up for using the new exportable unlocked version of the library. Okay, and the way we do that is we still choose the teeth, tell it that it is an artificial tooth, but then we're going to select here the VITA Bionic Dent Disc, okay? And it's one of the materials we have available, which I'll talk about a little bit more when we get there. But that's how the system is going to know to use the exportable version of the library as opposed to this one, which is the VITA Bionic Vigo, which is the pre-carded tooth library, okay, or version of the library. So, and I get people that ask me from time to time, oh, can I demo it or preview it? And the unlocked version of the library, it's kind of that, it's either locked or unlocked. So there's not really a good method to give temporary use. So actually just downloading and using the free library is a great preview because all of the tooth molds are same, all the setup is the same. You just can't export the teeth at the end when you're done. Okay. And if you have the Vigo library, you can use the Vigo, but you can't use the unlocked one. If you have the unlocked one, then you could use both. Okay, so you can either export it or you can use it with the Vigo, and you can switch back and forth, like I said, just by selecting here which one you guys want to use, either the Vigo artificial or the dent disc, which is the exportable one. You can also, because you're exporting it, you can actually do these teeth individually, just like the original Vigo was, or you can bridge them together. Since I'm manufacturing them and milling them out of the dent disc, I found that I like it better when I bridge it, but rather than bridging them like all in a single arch, I usually will break it up like this, like the 6 anterior and then the 4 posterior. And you can do it either way. The reason I do it this way is actually more of like a manufacturing decision because it breaks it up in the puck a little better and I can get more units out of a puck. Whereas if I do a roundhouse arch, I can usually only get about 2 arches out of it. If I break it up like this, I can usually get 3, sometimes 4, depending on the size of the arch. So that's my recommendation. But again, you guys can do it however you want to. So you can select them, you can bridge them, and then the gingiva. The difference here, if you guys have worked with me before, is it defaults to the dentures gingiva. We're going to select the VITA Bionic base, but when we're using the Vigo, the pre-carded teeth where we're not manufacturing them, then we use the VITA Bionic base with artificial teeth, manual reduction. Okay, and essentially what that tells the software is that we're going to do this denture design, but we're not actually going to make the teeth, so there's not going to be any extra files for those. Whereas if we do the base with design teeth, then it's actually going to allow us to do all of those design steps for the teeth as well. so it knows we're actually going to manufacture them and export it. So for this particular one, that's why we're going to choose the VITA Vionic base with design teeth. And here we are set up. If you want to add additional scans, like a pre-prep scan or something like that, you can. I didn't in this particular one. So let's go through and I'll show you what it looks like. Now I've already done this one, so we're just going to kind of step through it. And mostly in the interest of time, I want to kind of show you all the different pieces of this. And like I said, I'll be doing more workshops, webinars, and stuff on all the individual parts. So if you want to go more in depth, let me know, or come join me in one of those, and we can definitely go in more depth on the different steps. So I've already brought everything in. There's my two models. I've got my plane of occlusion, my bite registration. I've marked my characteristic points. Okay. And again, if you guys have done this with me before, you might remember that I said when you're setting these, it's important to get them as close as you can to the right spot, but it's not so critical that you should spend 10 or more minutes agonizing over whether you've got it, exactly where it needs to be. Like I said, it's important that we get them pretty close because it helps with the design, but if it's not 100% perfect, it doesn't negatively affect the design nearly as much as you think it would. So that one of the big advantages of doing the digital workflow is to save a lot of time, and well, time is a big one, and that is a big a step there. Is don't waste a whole lot of time on stuff that's not super important. Yes, get them in there, be as accurate as possible, but don't waste a whole lot of time. It usually takes me probably 2 or 3 minutes to do the characteristic points, if that. Next, we mark the boundary. And again, how you mark this is totally up to you. There's a lot of different preferences. Some people like to put it all the way down in the center of the sulcus. Some people like to bring it all the way up and then trim it back by hand. It's totally a personal preference. However you prefer to do your dentures, it's up to you. My recommendation on that, though, is to get the spline in there all the way around, and then go back and fix the individual points if you need to. That if you get halfway through and you found you didn't like a spot, finish it and then go back and fix it. If you try and fix it before you finish the spline, you'll get yourself into trouble. There's the lower. And here we go. So here we can set our insertion direction. And it will show us our block out. We can adjust that if necessary. I got a lot to show you guys today, or that I want to show you guys today. So I'm kind of moving through this a little quickly, but again, it's recorded, so if you guys want to go back and watch it again, you can. All right, we'll let it quit thinking here. And there we go. So this is our tooth selection part of this. And before I show you this, I'm actually going to jump back to my slides here and talk a little bit about the bite registration. And the reason I'm talking about this is because I get this question a lot, and typically from technicians, and they ask me, oh, how do I choose the right teeth for my denture? Okay, and my initial answer is that that's not really your job. It's actually, it should be the responsibility of the clinician who is taking the records to determine which teeth should be used in this denture, that they should go through it with the patient and all that other kind of stuff. Does that happen all the time in the real world? Not so much, and that's why I get that question a lot, is because, you know, the denture cases get sent to the laboratory, and it comes down to the technician who's responsible for picking the teeth. So, and just like I said before, that, you know, records are super important, that this is one of the pieces of records that is also super important. And these are some of the minimum pieces of information that I always require, especially for my digital workflow. And that's the plane of occlusion, midline, the corner or cuspid line, and the high lip line or smile line. Okay, because if at least I have that information, I can use that along with our combination chart to select a set of teeth. Okay, so if you have nothing else to go on, this will get you there. So it measures 43 and about 9 millimeters high, and the closest one is our O43, and that'll give us everything, including our lowers and our posteriors. So when we throw those in on this one here in the software, you can see it's pretty close to dead bang on. Okay, so again, that's why it's so important to take good records, but also this is how you can use those records to do tooth selection if you don't have any other information. So back to our design. And again, this is one I've done before. So this one is the T48, and with the combination chart, it's the L37 and the 22L. Now, one of the cool things about our library, sorry, let me jump back over to here. So we can actually talk about the library itself. So what's so special about the library? So this library, it was designed specifically to be used with the digital denture workflow. Okay, so what we did is, you know, compared to a traditional carded denture tooth, traditional carded denture teeth have those very long necks and undercuts built into them, and which doesn't work real well with a digital workflow. So what we did is we got rid of those long necks, we got rid of the undercuts, and we reduced it as much as possible so that we wouldn't get that penetration through the base. Also, we contoured them so that during the manufacturing, it's easier to produce those papillas, and they look a lot more natural. That if you guys have done digital dentures before, you guys know that those papillas, especially with the teeth out, can be very thin and very razor sharp, and unfortunately they break off super easy. And again, to save ourselves you know, the time and energy for our workflow, we don't want to have to go back in and fix these after we're done. So that it helps a lot with the manufacturing and the final assembly. That would so it produces the papillas a lot easier. You can adjust, you know, where their final gum line is and all of that as well. They are a tapered oval shape, so you can't really get these wrong. They only go in one way, but they drop in and fit 100%. There's no rotation, there's no wiggling. They fit just like a glove. Now, this is talking about the actual Vigo pre-carded teeth, and that they are an actual true denture tooth and are layered like a true denture tooth. Okay, so you're gonna get all of that nice surface texture, the good layering. You get that opalescence, fluorescence built in, which is why the Vigo has been so popular, is because it is absolutely the most aesthetic when it comes to the digital denture workflow. Now, if you're doing lots of dentures or you've done enough of the digital denture stuff, you'll find that the couple of places where the Vigo has a hard time is if you've got that limited VDO, or if you're doing a single arch off over natural dentition, because there's no way to modify those teeth in the software. So you would have to grind in the occlusion by hand, which is kind of a bummer. Which is why we have the 2.0 version or the exportable version, so that you can adapt that for those types of cases. The Vigo teeth themselves are made from a silicate microfiller reinforced SE polymer, which is a bunch of big fancy words to say that it's very hard and has a very low abrasion rate. Okay, it's a composite material. It's very, it's got great bonding properties and very durable. Now this is the cool part about the library itself, whether you're using the Vigo or the exportable version, because we don't have just the teeth in there. We also have them pre-set up in different setup combinations. Okay, so you can get them, you can do them lingualized, buccalized, crossbite. You can do them lingual straight, curved. The Dutch LOC. There's a couple of these that are in there for some of our European customers that they requested, specifically the Dutch LOC and the lingual straight. So you can kind of mix and match for over 600 different setup combinations, which is pretty cool. All right, we'll come back to that part. So let me show you what it looks like in the software. So in the software here, again, you can do lingualized, Gerber, crossbite, buckle, and then under here, you've got the lingual curve, lingual straight, or Dutch LOC. So we've got lots of different options. Apply, it'll come in. And again, let's see, let's get rid of this. You can see back here, it comes in perfect occlusion, which means if I do absolutely nothing and I finish this case, take it all the way to completion, and manufacture it, that if I were to put it on an articulator, it should have perfect occlusion, perfect function, and all the excursive movements, okay, which is awesome. All right, that saves us a ton of time when we're setting up. Okay, so when it comes to setting up, a couple of the recommendations that I have is to, not move those posterior teeth, at least individually. You can move them as a group. So if you want to, flare them out, you want this a little more over the crest of the ridge, you can do that. That's not a big deal. I just wouldn't go in and move them individually, because that's going to throw off your occlusion, and you're going to end up having to do it by hand. Now the anteriors are not as big an issue. So if you want to go in and move those individually, like you want to flare the centrals or rotate one of the laterals or something like that, just so it doesn't look too perfect, that's not going to mess with our function very much, or our occlusion, and it's not going to give you too much trouble. So that's cool. I just would not move the posteriors individually. I would take advantage of that pre-setup and time savings by not doing that. So once we have the teeth set up and we get them where we like them, then it goes into kind of the pre-manufacturing type settings. The base relief thickness and all of this, I leave it at the default, which is about 1.5 millimeters. I wouldn't go any thinner than that. The base just gets too thin, but that's a pretty good setting. 3Shape has the cool gingiva aesthetics. They're kind of presets, which is fun. I like playing with those. I like to do most of my festooning and characterization in the software, so that's a cool one to play with. In the order form settings, during manufacturing options, you can either select the VITA milling or VITA printing to go along with these. And the difference is if you do milling, it is going to automatically check this box here, drill compensation. So you can actually calculate it based on the burrs that you have in your machine, which is pretty cool. If you select the printing, it will simply uncheck that and everything will be grayed out. Okay. Yes, we like the drill compensation. All right. So it's going to think here for a minute, and then we'll move on to the next step. What else did I want to tell you guys about these teeth? Yeah, so for the Vigo, which is the free library with the carded Vigo teeth, it's ideally kind of set up for a full upper over a full lower, and it works really well that way. The exportable library is a lot more versatile because we can actually scale the teeth, so change their size and shape. We can change the occlusion scheme. So if we have it over natural dentition, we can adapt it to the opposing anatomy. Because we're going to manufacture the teeth, we can kind of do whatever we want with them. But they will default start as the VITA Vigo molds. Yes. I was going to say something else about that and I forgot. Yes, you could scale the teeth. Oh, so it also works really well if you're doing something that's partially edentulous. So you have existing teeth in there. Okay, you can just select and build the teeth that you want instead of building all of them. So that's another really cool feature with the exportable version of the library as well. And we're almost done calculating here. Come on, you can do it. Yeah, so these are the three new ones, the lingual straight, lingual curve, Dutch LOC. Those are in the updated version. And like I said, it's updated in both the free version and in the exportable version. There we go. So here's where we can, oh, I take that back. This next part is actually the connectors. So let me get rid of the gingiva here so you can see these connectors. You can kind of set where these connectors are. My tendency is to turn the facial side all the way down, which is 70 is the lowest it'll go, and then make up the difference on the lingual side so it's more aesthetic from the facial. I think I've already set it on this one, so we'll just go ahead and move forward. Yeah, there we go. So you can see that it's less on the facial, more on the lingual, so that way it's going to be a little more aesthetic. And for each bridge, it'll give us those options. Come on, you can do it. Now this is an option that wasn't there before, which is sculpt anatomy. Again, we can modify these teeth because we're going to manufacture them. We can kind of make them look however we want to. Yep, on all of them. Since I've got 3 bridges there, it's going to go through all 3. Then it's going to allow me to sculpt on the denture base. So this is where I would do my characterization or festooning of the denture base. Wow, it's slow today. So after we get done with this, we'll talk a little bit about some manufacturing options and then how to finish these dentures. So we'll go through that, and I'll do some demos under the overhead camera so you guys can see what it all looks like and see what some of the options are. We'll just finish up this software piece and then we will jump on to that. Almost. And I probably, since it's taking a long time, I probably won't do the lower because it's all the exact same. But I do want to show you what some of the different options are. So again, this is where we would do the festooning, and I've already done this one. So you would say next. And this is what I'm going to show you. This is they call it the coupling mechanism. And essentially it is an insertion access or an insertion path for that set of teeth. I have not so far found an instance where I needed to change this a whole lot. So I'm not sure exactly what kind of scenario it would apply to where I would need to insert these at a slightly different angle. Possibly if I had limited room in the disc I was manufacturing or the base, or there was some kind of an attachment or appliance as part of this, then it might be a little more applicable. But for doing full dentures, I haven't needed to move that direction very much at all. So I usually will just go with the default. If you guys run into something that you're like, oh yeah, I definitely had to do it because of this, please tell me, because so far I haven't run into it yet. And then one more here. So our pre-manufacturing, and this is, oh, sorry. It's a coupling mechanism on the next one. Let me see if I can jump up to this one. There we go, cool. So this is where we're going to see our glue space. Again, this is the drill compensation as it applies to the tooth pockets themselves. If we chose milling, we'll get the checkbox, and we can set our tool size here. If we did printing, it will uncheck it and it will gray out. But this is where we've got our glue space. So one of the things that is part of the library, whether you're using the Vigo or the exportable version, is it should automatically set your glue space for you. The Vigo default is 40 microns, and the exportable version, because we're bridging them together, is 80 microns. Okay, and so that's what it should be set at, and that's an important one there, because if you're used to doing it, some of the other ones, the default for 3Shape is 100 microns, which I found is too much. So make sure that your settings are right on those. And let's see if we can skip the lower here. Come on, you can do it. The last part I want to show you is you can see the symbol up here at the top of the dent disc, like we set it up as. It'll actually show these in the disc itself, so that you can kind of visualize how they'll fit into the blank, and kind of where those, because the dent disc is a multi-layer disc, so you can kind of see where those disc layers are. And it doesn't actually export that to the mill, so you still have to nest it at the mill. It's more of a preview than anything else. But again, sometimes it helps when you're nesting. Like I said, if you had done this as a roundhouse and you couldn't get the whole thing in there, then you could always jump back and split it into 3 pieces like I did it, or something like that is how I would use that piece of it. Come on, we're almost there. You can do it. One other question I got just recently is, I showed in the order form that you set it up as the dent disc to use that exportable version. But I have people saying, oh, I have a different kind of workflow or material that I'm using. can we use that library with that workflow? And for the most part, the answer is yes. It just requires a little bit of, changing the settings in the control panel. And if you are savvy with the control panel, I can tell you how to do that. If you're not, then you can call me and I can help you out with that. So, all right, let's see if we can skip the lower here. Come on. All right. This is taking too long. While it's thinking, let's go do some other stuff. And then if it finally pops up, we'll switch back and there we go. So this is also kind of an improvement or an update. This has been out for a little more than a year now, or I guess almost two. But in some of my original stuff, we were using the VMLC paint or the VMLC composite for doing a lot of the characterization. We've replaced it with this, the Accent LC, which is a light cure staining glaze, and this stuff is absolutely awesome. I put it on just about everything, and it works really, really well. We do have our VMLC, which is a light cure composite. So if you need to do a buildup of the gingiva or something like that, you can. All right, so I showed you guys the Accent LC. These are all there's 14 colors and 4 chroma colors. And it comes either classic or 3D master. And again, the VMLC, the light cure composite, comes in 5 gingiva colors. And you can use that for either layering the gingiva or adding texture or something like that. Questions? All right, so I saw a couple up here. Let's see. One of them asks, what's the best way to clean a denture after blasting? I usually will steam clean mine. That works really well. I also have next to my sink a little toothbrush and some mild soap. So if it's something particularly sensitive, I'll go in and I'll scrub it, wash it really well, and then steam clean it. Both of those work really well. If you don't have a steam cleaner, that toothbrush and mild soap and scrubbing it really well, that does work. I've done it that way several times and it works just fine. Steam cleaning works really well too. So those are my 2 go-tos for cleaning it after blasting it. What else do we guys have? Oh, the library. Where do I find the library? Hang on, let me see if I can pull this up real quick here. We go to our VITA North America page. Oop. Yes. You have the big banner up front. I think the next one, the next banner over, it just changed our website too, is the Vigo. It should look like, or I showed it in my slides. It'll actually look like this right here. And there would be a button that says order now. And you click on that and then it sends me an email and I know that I got to process a library for you guys. So if you're looking for the exportable library, you can get that from our website. The free website you can get, or the free library you can get from either the control panel in 3Shape or Exocad's website. How much longer the milled composite teeth last compared to the milled PMMA? Like I said, the milled and printed PMMAs are wearing out in 1 to 2 years, at least that I've seen so far. the composite teeth last as long as the denture teeth do. It's almost exactly the same material. And, you know, most of the paperwork that I've seen on it so far, it's very, very comparable to the carded denture teeth. And I probably have a chart and some papers on it. So if you guys want that, I'm happy to send it to you. What else? More questions, guys? Let me show you. Let's see. Please feel free to, you know, typing in your questions. I'm happy to answer them. If you guys do have more questions or you're looking for some more courses, if you go on to our website under education, you can see all of the different courses that we have coming up. We've got lots of webinars. We've got several workshops. If you guys want to see more of me, I will be at the NDA meeting in Vegas this week. So if you're coming to the NDA, please come by and say hello. Let's talk dentures. And we can talk more in depth about this. If you guys want to do a workshop for anybody who's going to Spectrum, Ontario, later in the month, I will be lecturing at Spectrum, but the day before, I'm actually doing 2 workshops, a morning and an afternoon, on the characterization, kind of what I was just showing you. So if you guys are going to be up there and you want to do that, you can come see me. Otherwise, we've got Eugene is doing a course, Peter Pizzi. Danny, actually, I'm really excited to see the stuff that she's doing. She's more on the ceramic side, but some of her stain and glaze techniques are super cool. And I've been able to adapt some of them to, you know, the light cure stuff as well. So we've got lots of stuff coming up. If what you're looking for isn't on there, please get a hold of us. Let us know that, you know, hey, I'm looking for this kind of a course, and we can kind of steer you in the right direction. If you want more education stuff, like I said, all of our webinars and workshops and stuff we post to our VITA North America YouTube page. And our marketing team has done an awesome job keeping it really organized. So if you actually click on playlists, you can sort them by topic and find exactly what you're looking for. And there's lots and lots of stuff on there. So that's another really great resource. If you have questions about any of the product that I talked about today, these are your local reps. So you can reach out to them also, and they can get you some more information and pricing that's more specific to you and where you're at, or, you know, whatever pricing that you guys get. Okay. And if you have questions, please, you know, call us, email us. We're always happy to help. So myself or Jim are at the help desk, and we answer questions all of the time. So if there's something you want to talk about or got more questions, again, call us, email us, and yeah, we're happy to help. Also on our socials, so we've got Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and our YouTube page. We got all kinds of stuff up on there. So whichever one you use, find us on there, and you can get all of our education, our courses, and videos, and product info. This is me. This is where you can find me. So if you guys have questions and you want to reach out to me directly, you can. Let me see if we've got any more questions. The Accent LC, it actually comes in 2 kits. There is the Expert kit and the Standard kit. The Expert kit comes with 6 of the colors and the 4 chroma colors. And the Standard kit comes with the other 8 colors that aren't in the one set. Like I said, what's cool about getting the kits is it comes with the cool dishes with the covers. It comes with a couple brushes, and it's kind of nice. Otherwise, you can buy the little bottles individually depending on what you need. And they're not super expensive, and a little bit goes a long way. They're pretty cool. What else? Any other questions? All right, well, it looks like I am just about at my time. So thank you all for attending. If you do have more questions, please, call me, email me, reach out. We are always happy to help, and we look forward to seeing you next time. So thank you guys all for coming.